Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me for a Patreon video. For me, it's been a little while. I know the Kaminazo video was not that long ago, but I recorded that video quite a while ago, actually. So it's been a little bit since I've produced any video content for the Patreon, directly at least. So obviously we had our little break last week that I used to get all the panels up and everything. But I'm glad to be able to be back and talk again. Thank you guys so much for supporting me and things like that. That's been a big help. And just trying to figure out like how Patreon works and all that stuff and what I want to do with Patreon is kind of the thing, which we'll talk a little bit about my thoughts on going forward what we'll do with Patreon. So today, for some reason you didn't hear, my plan today is to basically talk to you guys about my plans for the channel going forward and talk in like pretty direct terms, except for a few exceptions, just because I feel a little uncomfortable talking about it super directly, just because other people are involved with it. But yeah, so if you didn't hear for whatever reason, I am planning on changing how the YouTube channel is handled. A part of this comes out of, to get a little personal maybe, just the fact that, I'm in my 30s now. And then also I had a conversation with somebody else, something completely unrelated, but this is how life works sometimes, right? Where that unrelated conversation kind of related back to me thinking about like, I really love doing the YouTube channel and all that stuff. And it's a great time. And I don't want to stop doing it. But then I, especially with like changing careers and stuff like that this year, and there being some turmoil with that and how, I'm kind of in this weird floating spot between stuff at the moment, but I'm trying to like build something up and try to get something, as a career right now, unrelated to the YouTube channel. This is just me using my school writing chops to try to go do something regarding its technical writing. Let's just put it at that, technical writing and self-employed technical writing. So, but anyway, so I've been trying to do that, and I think all that kind of came together where I just sat down and thought, I don't know if I'm handling the YouTube channel the best way, honestly. And I think podcast highlights actually was like a weird, like as little of a thing that seems, like just editing together podcast clips and then putting footage to it, as little as that seems, and like how few people actually watch them or anything. I think I realized I'm doing a lot of things really inefficiently at times. And I really sat back and looked at things like how the YouTube algorithm works these days and all that stuff. And I think I kind of realized that I needed to take a step back and really rethink everything I do. And the reality I was kind of facing for a little bit was the idea that I might have to stop doing certain types of content. I don't know if I really ever got to that level, but I was prepared to do that. I think that's a good mindset to be in, was being prepared to cut things if I needed to. And I guess to some degree there'll be some kind of cuts, but it's not really a huge deal. I'll get into a bit more detail bit by bit on this. This is not really like the fast track video that you'll be looking for. And when the time comes, probably at the end of this month, I'll be posting a video on the main YouTube channel that gives the short, spicy, there's a cat jumping up here, just a heads up, so you might see a cat here in a second. But it'll give you the short, spicy, where you need to go to get what and what's going to be where. This is more going to give you guys a deeper look into what that will be and talk about individual features and my thoughts on them. And, I'm happy to receive feedback from you guys too, especially for the Patreon stuff, because, with all this stuff changing around, I think it will, as much as I haven't really changed my plans of what I want to do with the Patreon, I think it will have an impact on the Patreon and what I do with the Patreon. Yeah. All right, bye, cat. He just like jumped off the table and ran off. He might be in and out here really quick, like really fast in and out. He's in a little bit of a playful mood at the moment, but I need to get this recorded and get this out to you guys for tomorrow. I want to kind of wait as long as possible so I can give you guys the most up-to-date information. So the first thing I should talk about really is how the channel is going to be broken up, actually. So a big struggle I've had over the last many years actually is I have a hard time deciding what I want my channel to be, and I'm always kind of chasing what I think is going to be the best thing for my channel, but then shifting positions and going back around. And maybe this will be a part of that. But the big thing is I think I want to really split up the channels, split up into really two channels initially is what my thought was, but then a third opportunity came up, so there's going to be a third channel, and we'll get into that shortly. So let's talk about the main channel and what the main channel is going to be. So this is still the standard, one controller port vanilla YouTube channel. And, the thing I really want to focus on the standard one controller port channel is scripted content. I love making scripted videos. Is probably the thing I love making most out of everything I do. They're a lot of hard work. They take forever to get done. And depending on the video, sometimes they can take significantly longer than anticipated. And so I really wanted to focus that content down onto that style of content. So when somebody's coming to the main One Controller Port YouTube channel, they know what they're going to get. Because right now you have the podcast that shows up on there. You get the streams. You get these kind of like in-between videos that are all kind of commentary focused. So I really want to focus the main channel on scripted content. I don't think there's going to be a set delivery time on these just because of just how they're handled. Depending on the video, it's just going to take different amount of times. And I think there's been times I've definitely compromised on qualities in ways that I haven't been happy about trying to, or at least just not even just compromising quality, but also like my own well-being just to try to meet some deadline that I've kind of made up for myself at times. And I do want to put out content as much as possible in that thing. And I think generally I will still aim for trying to put something out every month or so. I think that is where I feel best. I don't know if this is an issue with me from like a mental perspective, but like I start to feel bad when I start not putting that kind of thing out. I feel like I need an outlet for those kind of feelings and that kind of work I want to do. And if I go too long without doing it, I start to get really frustrated, and it kind of affects my life as well. Probably not the greatest thing mentally there, but I really like doing that kind of content, and I really like doing it. So I do want to do that, and I want to give it its own space so it can kind of thrive on its own. And so people who come and subscribe, they know what they're looking at when they get something that pops up in their feed from my YouTube channel. I'm thinking that the branding on the thumbnails is going to be different than what it currently is. I don't know if that's going to be set in stone by the time I'm ready to kind of break up all these channels and stuff, but I think that is going to be something that's going to be changed in terms of how the branding is. I think the logo will be the same as always, but I mean, like the thumbnails, I don't think we're going to have the standard design of like the cut in dark piece that has the text on it. I think I'm going to be a little bit more dynamic with those thumbnails. And I think a big reason why I want to do that is I think this is going to be kind of my marketable channel in some way. So this is the channel I think I really want to aim to try to do something with. I'm just kind of at a weird point in my life right now with where I'm working and stuff and things like that, where I have the flexibility to try to push YouTube to make something work, even if it's not a full-time thing, just like trying to get some kind of, part-time reach and income from it kind of thing. Do I necessarily think that happens? No, I don't necessarily think that happens per se, but I just feel like it's a good opportunity right now for me to try to do that. And so I'm going to go ahead and try to push on that. And so I think I will focus topics a little bit more and focus a little bit more on what I think is going to be marketable. But I don't think that's going to be like, something way out there that you guys wouldn't, appreciate, right? I don't think it's going to be like, hey, we're going to do Minecraft videos, right? I really want to focus, I think, on things that I think I have a unique perspective on, and making that content, be able to reach as many as people as possible. So I think you'll still see imports. I think you'll still see games for girls and things like that. I think all that stuff will be represented in some way or another, or at least, maybe I should at least say it's on the table, right? I don't necessarily know if I make a games for girls video that tries to reach a ton of people, but I do think it is a video that I would like to make and I think could work. So how this is going to probably play out early on is just talking about my feelings on Babylon's Fall and also the Final Fantasy shooters. I think those are going to be two videos I'm going to try to define a new approach with, and hopefully get those to get some kind of traction. In the case of the Babylon's Fall video, that's actually more of a video about video game discourse as a whole. It's going to be similar to the panel I'm doing probably actually around that time. But I have weird thoughts on video games and how to handle them, and I want to focus on that. I think I want to focus less on I'm the only one who's produced content around this thing, right? And I'm hoping that will make it easier to reach more people. Cat is back. Cat's back in the table. We'll see if he comes across over here and gives me love. The window's open, so I think he's trying to poke his head out the window off and on. You want to meow at me? Meow. Meow. No? Okay. Anyways, so that is my thought there. But yeah, no set delivery time, but I would try to aim for like once a month. And I think the reason I'm okay dropping the set delivery time is the reality seems to be that YouTube doesn't care nearly as much about consistency anymore. I think it is something that is, being active is important to some degree, but I don't necessarily think it is like a end all be all kind of thing. So I will probably still stream to this channel. Let me know if you have any thoughts on this, mainly for reach. I think it's going to be really hard for me to get new people into the stream if I stream to a second channel that has a much more limited reach. So I think the intention is to stream on the main channel, use that as a anchor point that people will come over to the bonus channel for archives and things like that. So on the stream, I'll probably heavily advertise the fact that I look at my cat dead in the eyes, advertise the fact that I am doing that. And then the stream won't live on that channel. I will archive it on the other channel. So there won't be a string of streams sitting on the main channel. I may also do YouTube Shorts on this channel as well, but it just depends on what I plan to do with that. YouTube Shorts seems to be doing pretty well overall, and I am seeing people making interesting content around that. I will, again, probably try really hard to focus on my personal unique view of games and use that as a way to utilize YouTube Shorts in a way. But I don't really know what that looks like yet. I know we've talked in the past before about YouTube Shorts. There's actually an abandoned version of a YouTube Short that I have on the Patreon in the past that didn't work out how I wanted to. But I think the YouTube Shorts will be probably something around like, hey, here's like I think I talked about this before briefly, but like wanting to focus on making I'm gonna click off this software real quick just in case the cat steps on the keyboard. I'm gonna make something that's like a brief video that talks about something really cool about a game that maybe some people wouldn't expect to hear about from a game kind of thing. And it would be more than just like, hey, did you know kind of thing? Maybe like, picking out a point of Mighty Number 9 that I think is like really, really strong kind of thing. So I think that is my intention for something like that. So anyways, that's the main channel. Again, a lot of this stuff is still up in the air. If you have any thoughts, let me know, and I'm sure things will change. But for now, basically the main channel will be almost exclusively for premiere video content, I think is what the current label is for it. So there's a second channel, and this channel more or less is going to sound really, really familiar to anyone, and if you guys are following me every week. This one currently is called One Controller Port Plus, or OCP Plus. I think I shortened it because of the YouTube length stuff. And this is a commentary channel. So this is going to be where the podcast goes up, where the stream archive goes up. And maybe this will also be where content that is more like the in-between content I do, where like I would watch those Japanese game commercials, right, or do the Eureka battle thing and stuff like that. I think those types of videos that were happening kind of in between premiere videos are maybe going to get folded into the streams and the podcast going forward. So they won't be their own standalone thing. They'll be something I integrate into probably mostly the stream. So when we look at something like the Eureka battle thing, that will be more something we do on stream. And I'll cut out that piece and archive it as a separate thing on the One Controller Port Plus channel. I'm a little concerned about having the archive on a separate channel than the channel I stream on. I worry that there might be some confusion, but I think that's what I'm going to start with at the very least. And that actually makes it kind of easy because my other streams and stuff are already archived on the main channel and stuff like that. So having like a separate stream that I have to like embed somewhere else is not like a huge deal. Podcast highlights are going to happen here as well. So like this is really just like going to be like a podcast and stream channel, and then a clips channel is what it's probably going to be. Clips from those things probably. And podcast highlights will be a part of that as well. I like podcast highlights. They're not very popular, but what they do for me personally is it makes it so if I feel like I have an opinion about a game out there, or if I want to put my opinion out there about a game, whether it be a popular game or anything that's like not super well known, I can do that. Because the reality is when I talk about games on the podcast, it gets lost. I don't even know what games I've talked about on the podcast in the past. I couldn't even go back and find to see if I have opinions on certain games. It's been kind of a problem doing the podcast highlights where like I know I played a game at some point, but I can't find it in the podcast archive. that I mentioned it at all. And maybe I didn't mention it on the podcast. I don't know. So basically having my final impressions basically wrapped up in a single podcast, and then kind of packaged up in a nice way that later I can edit it out, and put it in a discoverable way for people, I think is important. Though I think those videos may get labeled as reviews for those particular types of things, because more or less, despite not being probably as well handled as like the casual reviews in terms of like my delivery and making sure I hit every point I want to, I think they get close enough that they're probably worth calling reviews on the YouTube channel. On my website, they'll still be called podcast archives, because they aren't new content per se. Though it is worth mentioning that everything I talk about today will still go up on the main website per usual. I just don't think many people use my main website as a way to get content. But I like the website being there, and I like archiving my stuff there. So you will see those listed separately as podcast highlights there. But yeah, I think that will pretty much be kind of the focus of that, is to be a commentary based channel. So anything I'm not doing scripted stuff and things like that. This is where things get a little weird with the Patreon, because the Patreon kind of overlapped that content quite a bit. And I don't know what the right answer is for this yet, where it is, do I just create that content still and then make that content Patreon exclusive? If I do want to do that off the stream, or do I shift the Patreon to be more focused on behind the scenes stuff, right? I think I'm leaning towards the latter. So what that would look like probably is, yeah, you'd still get the stuff that's probably like more, maybe, self-reflecting in some ways with like, the article readings and things like that. But I think one thing I'd like to do is maybe leave a blank space. So maybe have like one piece of planned content per month. So we're still doing the updates every 2 weeks kind of thing, but have the one piece of planned content per month. And then for the secondary, content slot, put something that's behind the scenes there. So what could that be? That could be a video that's currently in the works. That could be, something that was abandoned or something like that. It would make it so I would more easily be able to surface that stuff in a way if I'm not planning out a full set of content for each month kind of thing. I don't know for sure if that's going to be how that works out, but I'm thinking basically the short of it would be, from your perspective and how you would receive it, is there'd be more behind the scenes content. I'm super open to hearing what you guys want to, want out of the Patreon. So let me know if you have any thoughts on that. But I think I might avoid doing things like the unboxing videos as much on the Patreon specifically, just because it would not really be solving. I guess it would be, I don't know. I'm open to it. Just let me know what you want if you want something. But I think I would be probably less likely to do those kind of unboxing videos, especially since those usually take like me buying something first and foremost. I still had like the CRT unboxing that I did, but there wasn't really a lot in it, so I didn't really know what to do with it. And then I also messed up the audio recording as well. So I was like, well, do I want to like just kind of shove some stuff in there? I might still post it, but it was a video that I was kind of like, it's turned out okay, but not anything like super, super amazing that I want to show off or something like that. That and the CRT stuff has been kind of on hold for a little bit. So anyways, that's my thought for that stuff, for the Patreon and all that stuff. So that's kind of the standard stuff. Now here's the wild card. If you're a fan of PCFX content, Paul, I'm looking at you. I've been working with Filler, who's the Welcome to Pia Carrot translator and the guy who's been on 2 out of the 3 PCFX podcasts I've done in the past. And I think both of us really want to do something meaningful for the PCFX. And I think individually, neither of us were doing as much as we'd want. Obviously, I think the videos are helpful, but because of them more or less being kind of just things that we get done when we get them done kind of thing, it was easy for things to kind of fall onto the back burner without us doing anything. And, I don't want to say that we're the sole pushers of the PCFX out there, but I think me and Filler specifically have a mindset that the PCFX is a console that needs to be talked about more than just, the Wikipedia page that, every video seems based off of. And then also, even going beyond what I'm currently doing, in terms of just talking about the games individually and being like, here's a game, how playable is it, kind of thing, right? I think we really want to increase the understanding of the PCFX by the retro gaming community as a whole. And how we do that is, I think, going to be very hard for me, at least, because the PCFX requires a lot of focus on the anime industry. And if you don't know, I'm not a huge anime fan, actually. So I'm going to have to do quite a bit of research probably and really try to get my mind in the right place for it. And really be open to asking questions. I think that's going to be my real benefit of being on that project, is asking questions. So how this is going to manifest is a third YouTube channel. Me and Phil are co-own it. Technically, I'm the main owner, but, we essentially co-own it. It's like YouTube only lets you set one owner, unfortunately, and I would rather it be co-owned, honestly. That's really frustrating. I guess I can get why they do that, but I would rather him have full permissions because, what if I die, right? Then only people who have access to my account can actually, continue that channel on in its full capacity. But as a co-owner, at least, I think he can do basically everything. And we're basically going to look at a few different things. One is going to be doing a quarterly podcast. So a podcast every 3 months. And this is going to be a topic-based podcast. So it's going to be talking about specific things we think are worth talking about to get a better understanding of the PCFX. There will be some things that are going to be more lighthearted and things that are going to be more just we're going to talk about this one video game that we played. But I think we really want to approach it from a different perspective than just, let's talk about the game or the console, then let's talk about each game individually. Obviously, if we did that approach, we could still do 60 episodes, right? But I think ideally we want to look at things a bit more further than that. And one of the great things with Filler is that he has, the capability to translate materials. And so far, at least, he's been very proactive in doing that. And I'm hoping that us having this kind of 3-month timeline will keep me engaged and will keep him engaged as well. And hopefully we can really, really dig further into this system in a way that I feel like a lot of people haven't yet. I feel like that's saying a lot for somebody like me who doesn't know Japanese, but I think at the very least, Filler's a invaluable person to bring on that journey. And I think that was something I think I realized, as we started talking about this, there's no better person to do this probably other than Filler, probably at this point. And I think him being somebody who started, was getting the PCFX at the time, is also very important from that perspective as well. So I really hope it's something that we can continue to do. Obviously, at a quarterly podcast, it's not going to be quick. The first episode in specific is going to be kind of just a general rundown. I told him, I was like, I don't want this to be super, super, super basic, but I also don't think we can just cold open on a PCFX podcast expecting that people had learned about the system beforehand to a significant degree or listened to our previous podcast. So we are going to be starting a little simple on the first one, mostly reiterating a lot of stuff. But, we just want to talk about what the podcast is going to be, what we plan to do, give a quick introduction to the PCFX, talk about some things that we particularly like about the system. So that's the main podcast. Then there's kind of two other things we want to do. One, which is going to be, I hope, somewhat consistently, but we can't really guarantee it just because of the nature of it, is we want to do interviews as well with key people in the space. We have somebody lined up for our first podcast. I won't say who it is just to make sure that everybody is on board and we can figure it out and finish it. We haven't recorded it yet or anything like that. But we want to talk to people about the PCFX. And I think we have a pretty decent list of people who can provide some feedback. And I think, just inherently, if you're into the PCFX, you kind of came into this really weird system as a Westerner in a really weird way. So I don't know. I don't know how much we'll get in terms of individual episodes that will be super exciting in regards to interviewing people. But I think it's really important to find out, the different ways people got drawn to the system and the different ways people appreciate the system too. Because, especially with me and Filler, I think me and Phil are in a lot of ways are on the same page when it comes to the PCFX. And while that's great for, harmony, I don't think it's great for offering a rounded picture about the system. That's why I think that, bringing Video Game Esoterica onto the podcast is great, because Video Game Esoterica, like, fits that, kind of stereotypical PC Engine fan mold, for me, in terms of my mind, but like does it in a way that's very respectful of the PCFX still, without really, trashing on it kind of thing. But there's people doing interesting stuff, people doing hacking work and all that stuff, and people who've been covering PCFX off and on. I think there's a lot of people we can probably talk to. So we've made a list of people and we plan to kind of reach out to them. But again, probably if we do it really consistently, it'd be like one between each podcast episode. But it's going to be a challenge. We are looking at maybe accepting money for the podcast too, through a Patreon or through a Ko-fi. But we haven't finalized those plans yet, so I don't want to say too much at this time. We may have to put that in very last minute, because honestly, I don't know. It's hard to know what's going to be the best approach for that kind of thing. And the big thing is that we're really trying to get costs covered for is that neither of us think it's very important for us to edit the podcast. I can edit the podcast, but it's not something I'm excited to do. I'm excited to make the content initially, right? And I think we want to basically just hire somebody to edit the podcast. So if we can pay somebody to edit the podcast, I think we'd be happy. So, and then finally, last but not least, is video content on there. There is no set timeline. There is no set guarantee for video content from either me or Filler. The podcast will have video, but I don't think either of us wants to really commit down to any super consistent thing, especially if we're doing 3 to 6 podcasts a year. We just both are really busy people, and I'm running all this other stuff still. So that does not mean we don't want to do PCFX video content though. So we are definitely open to doing it. And I think for me personally, if I were to make any future PCFX videos that are very PCFX focused, individual games, those kind of English guide videos, things like that, that's going to show up on that other channel. I think a lot of that stuff may get moved to that other channel as well. So I really want to place, I think PCFX content will be much more, appreciated if it's on its own channel, separate from me talking about all this other stuff. Now, that doesn't mean I will never talk about PCFX on the 2 core channels. One controller port. I would be very surprised if I make a PCFX specific video on the main One Controller Port video channel anymore. But something like the One Controller Port Plus channel, I would fully expect that I will just talk about PCFX stuff on that podcast. Maybe even go as far as to do podcast highlights or stream PCFX games there. So there's very much a potential that PCFX will still show up there, but I think any kind of edited content is going to end up on that new PCFX channel. So yeah, that's kind of the three split up stuff on that. So that's where things are planning on going. I think that should be everything. If you have any content that you're like, Ben, where is this going? Even though I think I've probably mentioned everything, but if there's something I missed, you're like, Ben, where is this going? Feel free to let me know. But I think it's going to be smart overall. I think the big thing is going to be making a marketable channel where I'm making YouTube decisions based off growth and things like that, and making video content that I love still. There's the commentary channel that lets me do the thing where I just check in with you guys every week and just keep talking kind of thing. And then there's the PCFX channel, which, the PCFX is something that, as much as I really enjoy talking about the system, neither really, my channels aren't a good place for PCFX content. It's just too busy of a channel. I'm too much of a variety YouTube channel person to really have a consistent flow of PCFX content. And if I can do a PCFX thing with Filler, somebody I think who's super passionate about the system, along with me, then I hope that we'll be able to deliver on that and do consistent work there and get a better space for the system out there in terms of understanding it and things like that. So Again, happy to hear your thoughts, though. If you have any thoughts, especially on the Patreon stuff in specific, you guys are the ones receiving that content. I'm filling in the gaps, but, it's hard to tell, what is like the most engaging Patreon content. Definitely want to finish up the Kaminazo playthrough. I've had some thoughts on some more Patreon exclusive series and things like that that might show up later. But for now, I need to focus on getting through Kaminazo. I haven't played it in months at this point, so I need to sit down and do that sometime soon. For the Patreon content going forward, we're in December right now. Let me see here. So this is coming out on the 7th. So there's gonna be something on the 21st. I can definitely put something together on the 21st, for sure. So I'll get some content for you guys on the 21st. I don't have anything planned, but I'll get something there. But all of this is probably gonna really go down early January, first week of January. I'll probably make the announcement the last week of December, and then the first week of January will be when everything goes live. All these channels go live. The PCFX podcast channel might take a little longer to get going, but that's just the nature of, working with other people and all that stuff. So, but that's going to be the plan. So, I hope you guys are pleased by that information. I know it's a little weird to break up the channel into so many different spaces. Really, I only planned for 2 initially, but the PCFX thing just kind of, reared its head on its own after our last podcast. I think me and Phil both were sitting there like, we really want to do more about this system. And I don't know if just doing individual podcasts on my channel was enough anymore. I think we needed to really have direction in mind, and I think that will help a lot. So that's going to be the plan. One other thing I want to do as well that I haven't really put too much thought into is for the Multitap podcast, just bring people on just to talk. This would be for the One Controller Plus channel, but like just bring people on to talk and just listen. I like talking to people about video games. So, like, I think it'd be cool to just have people on and just talk. Don't do, like, any kind of topic-heavy episode. I mean, obviously, it would be geared towards whatever they're doing, but it would be completely kind of open. I made a list of questions I want to talk to them about, and then just kind of do that from there. I think that would be really exciting to get more people on the show, and it's really exciting to talk to people for a little bit and hopefully have a good time with that without having to worry too much about, like, did we prove a point? Did we do this? Did we do that? That kind of stuff. So, anyways. I guess it'd be an interview series, would be closer to what I think it would be. So, but yeah, I'm going to go ahead and edit this up together and throw this up on. It's probably going to be a pretty thinly edited episode. We had our cat troubles. I'm going to leave the cat troubles in. You guys get all the cat troubles. So we'll leave all that stuff in and just have a good time. And yeah, I hope it's exciting. Let me know if there's anything else you guys want to see. And I'm going to leave it at that for now. So I hope you guys have a great week. And I'll see you on the podcast. Bye.